The first need of the soul, the one that is closest to its eternal destiny, is order, that is, a fabric of social relations such that no one is forced to violate rigorous obligations to fulfill other obligations. The soul only suffers spiritual violence from external circumstances in this case, for whoever is only stopped in the execution of an obligation by the threat of death or suffering can pass on, and will only be injured in his body. But for those for whom circumstances make the acts ordered by several strict obligations incompatible, in fact, those, without being able to defend themselves, are injured in their love of the good. Today, there is a very high degree of disorder and incompatibility between obligations. Anyone who acts in a way that increases this incompatibility is a troublemaker. Anyone who acts in a way that decreases it is a factor of order. Anyone who, to simplify problems, denies certain obligations, has concluded in his heart an alliance with crime. Unfortunately, we have no method for reducing this incompatibility. We do not even have the certainty that the idea of an order in which all obligations would be compatible is not a fiction. When duty descends to the level of facts, so many independent relations come into play that incompatibility seems much more probable than compatibility. But we have the example of the universe before our eyes every day, where an infinity of independent mechanical actions contribute to constitute an order that, through variations, remains fixed. That is why we love the beauty of the world, because we feel behind it the presence of something analogous to the wisdom that we would like to possess to satisfy our desire for the good. To a lesser degree, truly beautiful works of art offer the example of ensembles where independent factors contribute in a way that is impossible to understand to constitute a unique beauty. Finally, the feeling of the various obligations always proceeds from a desire for the good that is unique, fixed, identical to itself, for every man, from the cradle to the grave. This desire, perpetually acting within us, prevents us from ever resigning ourselves to situations where obligations are incompatible. Either we resort to lies to forget that they exist, or we struggle blindly to get out of them. The contemplation of authentic works of art, and much more so the contemplation of the beauty of the world, and much more so the contemplation of the unknown good to which we aspire, can support us in the effort to think continuously about the human order that must be our first object. The great perpetrators of violence have encouraged themselves by considering how blind mechanical force is sovereign throughout the universe. By looking at the world better than they do, we will find greater encouragement. If we consider how the countless blind forces are limited, combined in an equilibrium, brought to contribute to a unity by something that we do not understand, but that we love and that we call beauty. If we keep the thought of a true human order constantly present in our minds, if we think of it as an object to which we owe total sacrifice when the opportunity presents itself, we will be in the situation of a man who walks in the night without a guide, but constantly thinking of the direction he wants to follow. For such a traveler, there is great hope. This order is the first of needs. It is even above needs, properly speaking. To be able to think about it, one needs a knowledge of the other needs. The first characteristic that distinguishes needs from desires, fantasies, or vices, and foods from gluttony or poisons, is that needs are limited, as are the foods that correspond to them. A miser never has enough gold, but for every man, if he is given bread at will, there will come a time when he will have enough. Food brings satiety. It is the same with the foods of the soul. The second characteristic, linked to the first, is that needs are ordered in pairs of opposites, and must be combined in an equilibrium. Man needs food, but also an interval between meals. He needs heat and coolness, rest and exercise. The same is true for the needs of the soul. What is called the golden mean actually consists in not satisfying either of the opposite needs. It is a caricature of the true equilibrium by which the opposite needs are satisfied both in their fullness.